Okay.
Hello, everyone. This is very special guest, and we actually recorded a video yesterday, a long story. That video is not gonna happen, but hopefully today, and we're gonna split this conversation probably in 2 parts or 3 parts we see. I have amazing gentleman who actually is originally from United States, but he lives in Russia. This is his home now. He has actually Russian citizenships, right, Russell? You are
Yes, I
Russian
do.
right now. Yep. And
Uh-huh.
he is there, Russell Texas Bentley. And Texas is a nickname. So there you have it. He is actually in that region of Donbass, Donetsk, right? Donetsk, from 2014. And I just want to ask you this quickly. When you make that decision to go there, can you tell me why, and can you tell me how you got involved when you went there? Into what?
I came here in December 2014 after seeing the Maidan coup d'etat in Kiev in early 2014 and seeing the terrible war crimes and atrocities that began soon after the U.S. puppet government that was backed by genuine Ukrainian Nazis was put into power. There was a lot of them. There was the massacre in Odessa on the 2nd of May. But the exact moment when I knew that I was coming here was when I saw a photograph taken of the aftermath of an Ukrainian Air Force airstrike against the administration building in Lugansk. It was a civilian administration building. There was no military structures or soldiers around yet. About a dozen people were killed, including a woman named Inna Kukurudza. And a guy came up after the attack and he was filming with his camera a video, and she was still alive, but she was sitting on the ground, laying on the ground next to her legs. Both of her legs had been blown off by these rockets, and she was dying. And she looked up at this guy and she asked him, "Can I borrow your phone to call my family?" And a photograph was made from that video where she's looking straight directly into the camera. And when I saw that photograph, I knew for sure I was coming here. I mean,
so Russell, I just want to say this
I was
to
absolutely determined to come here.
To everyone who's watching right now, and I really want to say it from me because this is important. Why I'm talking to Russell today is because
I'm sorry,
I want to talk.
Your audio is dropping out right now.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I can't hear you.
You can hear me.
But so after that, I came to Donetsk, and I got here. I planned to get here at the end of August, but it took me a little bit longer to get my Russian visa and raise money. So I got here in December 7th to Donetsk. And a week later, I joined Vostok Battalion. My first day in combat was the 31st of December, 2014 at position, the Iversky Monastery, which is about 400 meters from the new terminal of the Donetsk airport, which was then held by Ukrainian cyborgs, Ukrainian Army Special Forces. I was there with Vostok and Sparta Battalion when we took back the airport, and all the cyborgs were either killed or retreated, and it's still ours to this day, and it will remain ours. And then from there, I served about 6 months in Vostok, and then later in Han Spetsnaz Battalion. But once we joined the Spetsnaz, I realized at the age of 54, perhaps I was a little bit too old for, Spetsnaz type training and missions. And so I suggested that we do that I transition into, humanitarian aid and anti-propaganda, information warfare. And that's what I've been doing ever since. I did serve in 2017 for 4 months in the summer on the Avdiivka front as MVD, a military policeman. But basically it was the same as being a soldier. And since then I've been doing humanitarian aid work and trying to get the truth out about what's happening here in Donetsk to people in the West.
Thank you. Can you hear me now? No?
I can't hear you.
Okay. I can hear you. I can hear
Okay,
you.
cool.
Okay.
Yeah, write down the questions and show me.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yep. So I just want to say to everyone that I wanted to talk to Russell because he is there and he has been living there, so he knows a lot. Why?
Why did Putin do the Operation Z? Well, I'll tell you what. The Ukrainian army has been on the Donbass front this whole time, very close to all the major cities of Donetsk and Lugansk republics. They're literally right now on the edge of Donetsk, about maybe less than 10 kilometers from where I'm sitting right now. In 2021, they began a very intense buildup of bringing more soldiers and more ammunition and equipment to the front. It became very obvious that they were planning to make a military offensive against the Donbass republics. And when they tried to do the same thing in 2014 and 15, they had gone around the cities through open ground in an attempt to seal off the Russian border. But when they're on open ground, they're easy targets for our artillery and Grad rockets, stuff like that. And they were really basically annihilated. Whole battalions of Ukrainian army was wiped out in those two offensives in 2014 and 2014. So I understood that they weren't going to do that again. And I also understood that their best advantage would be to make a blitzkrieg, lightning fast assault right directly into the center of the cities that were right on the front lines. Donetsk has 1 million people in it. If they can get 10 kilometers.
Okay, everyone, so you don't know what just happened. I actually had to pause the recording. Russell disappeared. He appeared again, but he's back. So you were talking about why Putin did that. So I know there are key points. Is the liberation of that area, right? For the ethnic people who live there, right?
Yes. I mean, the main thing is that, and it's been proven by documents that have since been discovered since the operation began, but they really intended to commit genocide against the people here in Donbass. They intended to come in to the center of the cities, to use civilians as human shields against Russia's most important military assets, which is their air power, artillery, missiles, and rockets, which are negated if there's civilians close by to the targets. And also, they were planning on committing genocide, just like the German Nazis did in the Second World War. You know, the Wehrmacht army troops would come in and pass through an area, and then a few days later would come the Einsatz group and the special groups that were basically death squads. And as we can see from what they're doing in Mariupol, they're murdering civilians. And the thing is, in Mariupol, the areas that have been liberated by the Russian army and the DPR army are now being brought in as much human aid as possible. They're handing out big boxes of food, water, medicines for free, of course, to the civilians. And it would have been different had the Ukrainian army come here. They'd have been handing out hot bullets instead. They'd have been, it would have been a genocide on the level of the German Nazis here in the Second World War.
Can I ask you? Can I ask you now? I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, God. Okay, so I know it's very hard to tell the number, like in any war, pretty much like that.
Mhm.
What do you think? How many people, civilians? I'm asking civilians now. How many people have died? I'm not asking have been affected, because we can see the damage of those cities. What do you think? How many people have died at this point?
There's, I couldn't even guess, I mean, I couldn't even say within thousands, I mean, but what I know is that, civilians, even Ukrainian civilians, are now being murdered by the Ukrainian army and the Nazi battalions. They're placing them in basements and blowing down buildings on top of them in order to make false flag accusations of Russian atrocities. I mean, they're doing some very terrible stuff, and but there's no way, no one can even really guess that says that they could it thinks too much of themselves, But of course, it's in the thousands, of course.
So Russell, let me ask you this now. I didn't ask you this yesterday when we were recording, but there are civilians, I don't know the name in English, I forgot, like people go there, they get paid to fight, right? Which is, I think it's, yes, and I think this is like the lowest human you can be, to go and kill other people. Yeah, but
for
okay,
money.
so for money, exactly. So you have this,
and some of them do it for fun. In fact, listen, the Ukrainian army, and especially the Nazi battalions, have been making a lot of money throughout this whole 8 years of war. They allow these rich Western degenerates to come here, and they call it going on safari. And they take them to the front and they give them a sniper rifle, and they say, yeah, go ahead and shoot a civilian. They're all separatists. They're all the enemy. You can shoot them. Nothing's going to happen to you. It's not illegal. I mean, it's like these guys that go, to Africa and hunt lions or elephants or something, And I mean, so, it is the lowest kind of human being that there is. And there's plenty of them on that side.
All right. So let me, because this is totally surreal reality. Okay. So now let me ask you this, to those who are watching, and me and you are on the same page. Everything that media says, not only regarding this situation, pretty much anything they talk about is full of lies, only lies, really. Okay. So what I'm going with this is, if someone is watching now and they didn't buy the pandemic BS, but now they are actually believing whatever the bloody box is saying. So my point is this. So I didn't know any of it, but now as I am hearing this or getting into, so Zelensky was elected, right? I mean,
in a crooked election.
Right. So the election was crooked. And then when I was watching some videos with him, came across that he was actually in this comedy show using his penis to play the piano to entertain. I was like, wow, okay. And that's supposed to be funny. And now he is the president. So now what I want to understand is this. He was put into this position to continue with this situation like this, because how can you? And then, as I've heard, he was actually mentioning this has to be resolved, this has to be resolved, blah, blah, blah. So what is this? What is this? You froze with my question. Play again.
Okay.
Oh, you unfroze. Great. Okay.
When Zelensky was, running for the election, he was saying that, I'm going to end the war. I'm going to bring peace to Donbass and stuff like that. He didn't say how he was going to do it, but he said that he was going to end the war. And a lot of people in Ukraine, they hate this war as much as we do. They wanted that to happen. So a lot of people did vote for him, but the election wasn't decided in Ukraine. It was decided in Washington, D.C., as is every major decision, whether politically, militarily, economically, culturally, whatever. That's all done in Washington, D.C. I mean, Zelensky is a puppet, just like Poroshenko was a puppet. The people that own and control the U.S. government and own and control the NATO governments. And so, yeah, of course, it has always sickened me ever since Ronald Reagan got elected as president of the United States. Arnold Schwarzenegger was the governor of California. Jesse Ventura was the governor of Minnesota, but he was actually a good guy, a good governor. But I mean, it's just so stupid to have, an actor is someone that pretends, that basically deceives people, makes people believe something that's not real. So what kind of society elects actors as their political leaders? So, and Zelensky's a perfect example of that. He's a puppet. He pretends to be in charge, but he's in charge of nothing.
So is he there? Is he in Ukraine, you think? What do you think?
I doubt it. I doubt it. I mean, maybe he is. I know for a fact that he's made some fake videos with green screen. And also he ran one where he said, "Here, I'm at the hospital in Kiev," but it was recorded 2 or 3 months earlier. And one of the doctors that he was walking around with had actually died in between the time that was recorded and when he published things. He took a film from some months earlier and broadcast it, saying, here's proof that I'm here. Supposedly, just today I saw that there may be, I didn't see the video, I saw like a picture and a report about it, but maybe he's been down in Bucha, the town where all the fake atrocity thing is going on right now. So he may be back in Ukraine. He's got strong military backing. He can take a fast, low helicopter to Poland anytime he wants. And I think he's probably been in Poland for a while, and now he's back. He's a coward. He's not going anywhere near the front or anywhere where the Russians can target him, because of course they would. But I don't know exactly where he is now, but he's a puppet, and it doesn't really matter where he is, because all he's done is what he's told to do, and that's lying.
So what people think about this, what the civilians who are there think about this situation right now? How do they see this?
Which people? I can hear you now. I can't hear you.
The ones that live in your area, in that region, or overall in that part of Ukraine. How do they feel now? What they think? Are they afraid this will continue for years, for months? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you just.
Okay, so I will ask again. How they feel about this situation right now? Do they feel like this will go on for a long time? What is the spirit right now?
You mean of the operation itself, the military operation?
Yeah.
I think that it's going to be a tough fight, and probably, well, the next thing that's going to happen is the Russian army is going to surround and neutralize the main military concentration of the Ukrainian army on the Donbass front. And I hope, and that's probably going to happen within the next week or 2 weeks at the most. And I hope that they will be wise enough to greatly reinforce our side of the front before they start coming in from behind, because there's still a very genuine danger that when the Russians start coming from behind, the Ukrainian military is going to think that their best chance is to go ahead and try and break through our lines and do what they originally planned, which is to come into the cities and use human shields, just like they're doing in Mariupol. But the Russian general staff is smart enough to understand and prepare for that ahead of time. So I sure hope they are, because otherwise, I'm going to have to do some more fighting myself right in my own town.
But Russell, I want to ask you this. This was actually connected to that question that I didn't follow through. So the Western countries, United States, are sending weapons, right?
Yes.
To support, right? So I want to ask you, with that support that is coming from the Western countries, how does this look like? Because this is going to continue this, right? That support.
Of course it is, and that's of the West and NATO. These weapons are not to defend Ukraine or Ukrainian people. These weapons are to cause as much death and destruction of anybody at all, to continue the war for as long as possible, to, you know, to destroy as much infrastructure as possible, in order to continue the war, in order to try to reduce political support in Russia for Putin, which is having the opposite effect. He actually has 83% approval rating right now, which is astronomical.
Yes. Okay.
But these weapons are truly evil. They're dumping a bunch of obsolete weapons. The in-laws that the British sent, which are anti-tank rockets, they have a 20-year shelf life. After 20 years, they become either unstable or dangerous to use. The Ukraine are 19 years old. You know, so they're at the end of their shelf life. The British don't care if a Ukrainian soldier gets blown up trying to use it, or if it doesn't work and he gets discovered and killed. You know, they're dumping their obsolete weapons. You know, the same thing can be said about the Javelin and Stinger missiles that were sent from the United States. These are, you know, third rate at the end of their life cycle weapons that they're charging full price, of course, but that they're just dumping off here. And if they get used and to destroy something, that's fine. If they don't work, that's fine, because the
sound is gone again. So everyone, the connection literally dropped, and I cannot continue this conversation with Russell, but I will contact him again and we will have another talk, I hope. I hope he will be safe, because he's in this region where it's all happening, as you have heard. What I want to emphasize here is this. I bring guests like this so you can have a perspective from the very place where this is taking place, not from the media, not from the politicians, like I said, just from the people who live there and who have been witnessing things and know much more that has ever been reported. So you find all the contact to Russell down below. He's not really that much on social media. I hope you understand this, but with me as well, you please have my link to my mailing list. So join it, just in case, you never know. And there is my Patreon as well. If your heart tells you to support me, I very much appreciate that as well. My Instagram and other links. So yeah, that's what's happening. And I hope we will have another conversation soon. We stay in touch. God bless everyone.